Ever tried watching your athlete's game from anywhere in the world? With Replayer, you actually can. I had a friend watch his son's game live from his flight. My son watched a live game from the car while we were driving up the California coast. It doesn't matter where you are, grandparents across the country, cousins on the other side of the world, teammates who just moved away, set up the camera, hit go live, and everyone with a link is right there on the sideline. Live streaming is free. Unlimited games, unlimited teams, unlimited users. No complex tiers. Everyone gets access. And forget waiting hours for footage. I recorded a 60-minute game and it was ready in 5 minutes. Players were clipping highlights on the ride home. One camera, made in the USA, unlimited everything. If you never want to miss those moments, head to replayer.com. The link is in the show notes. Family-owned Soccer Innovation is your go-to source for top-quality equipment. Whether you're a player, a supportive family member, or a dedicated coach, they have everything you need to elevate your game. For players, their innovative equipment are designed to boost your skills and performance on the pitch. From their agility cones to their portable goals, they have you covered. And family members, they offer durable equipment that's built to last because we know your support is critical to your player. Coaches, trust me, they can provide the equipment you need to run effective training sessions and shape the next generation of soccer players. Visit Soccer Innovations at soccerinnovations.com to start elevating your game with them. And if you use the code PITCH, PITCH, you can receive up to 10% off your next order. Hello and welcome back to Chat by the Pitch. This is Ian Babcock, your host. In part 2, we continue sitting down with John Keagan. We go deeper into the side of development most people overlook: mindset, consistency, and the role parents play in shaping players' journey. This is where the real separation happens. So let's start this chat and head to the pitch.
Just give the kid a enjoy yourself with that when you turn 18.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I look at it as...
Yeah, I find with some of the stories that I hear, again, with the recruitment process in the US, obviously here it's very different with regards. I mean, I know you're allowed to recruit, I think it's 18 months before. So if you're a 2027 grad, it can actually be approached now or just a couple of months. It's 2 years away from obviously where you are now, where you're going to go to. So the massive, and then players can actually be recruited and go to the university. Probably there's a lot of people who actually end up in the portal. So it completely what they wanted. It wasn't what they expected. It wasn't the university that they thought they were going to. I feel like the coach may change, and it's like, how can you make a decision 2 years and actually happens? What the things that can happen in that 2 year period are ridiculous. Like life 2 years
yes.
Ago, it's nothing like it. And from a football point of view, if a university,
a lot can change.
A lot can, and I see people go on about programs, and only a handful of programs can actually win. Also, 98% of programs have a win record. You don't actually win anything. You don't win a trophy. You don't win a. So you're actually going to programs like in England. There's only a handful of clubs that ever win the Premier League or the FA Cup in the US, you can be recruited 2 years ahead of time. Within that 2 years, they could have had 3 or 4 different coaches. So the person who recruits you may not even be the person who actually is still there when you arrive. So it's stuff like that baffles me. And again, if somebody doesn't like the with our players, we make the commitment to our players that if we offer to come here, we offer them it, so they're here for a. I've had.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, the commitment year, 2 year leeway.
Yeah.
We were talking.
Yeah, so I don't know if obviously just to go over it. So I think the thing that shocked me is that people commit actually 2 years ahead of time with regards to the programs that they're going to go to, which obviously is great for the player, and obviously that that's where they're going, that's what they're going to do. But for me, it can be a bit different because if you're recruited by a school and within that 2 year period, a lot could have changed within that school with regards to there could be a different coach there now who wasn't the person that actually recruited you. There could be different. That school may have been a top school or a really successful school at the time you committed. Over a 2-year period, it may have diminished. It may not then be one of the top schools. So I always found that a little bit strange that it's done so long before you actually arrive at the university. But I know obviously it's because people want to try and get the best players, but also from a development point of view, somebody who maybe is not as strong at 16 could be a completely different player at the age of 18. If that makes sense, you can have a player at 16 who's outstanding, who doesn't develop into the player that you would hope that he did. And that's not just in the US, that's globally, do you know what I mean? They're really big years from the age, and they're the years here in England that dictate whether you're good enough to become a professional or not. So it's no different in the US. So that was something that always, when I have conversations with coaches like that, give a commitment that early to someone, but you don't know what that player is going to turn out. You like in 2 years' time.
They used to do it at 13 years old. And so to have this conversation, it blows my mind that is commitment level. I always joke, everyone's, oh, your son's so talented. I go, wait until he gets puberty. I go, it all changes at that point. Every player, it becomes an even playing field for a lot of players at that 14, 15 years old. And you get to see who these players really are, because unless they go through it early and they're going through it at 12 years old. But if they're 13, 14, 15 years old and they're finally going through development physically, they could become this phenomenal player. I love one of the coaches here I know in Utah, he uses the ripe banana analogy. He goes, your player might not be ripe until he's 15 years old, and coaches don't want to use him because he's not developing at the same rate. But you have this perfectly ripe banana in front of you. I'm not going to go use this kid until he's no longer good to me. And then they throw him aside and go find a new kid to use to promote themselves. And I feel like we put too much stock into younger kids. I think my son's talented. I'll say he's above average for his age, but I tell everyone, like, he could change in 2 years when he starts having those physical changes, and his athleticism might go out the window. Yeah. I hope it doesn't for him, because what he loves doing, or his desire to go play soccer might change because of everything. And you just never know. And to commit, like you said, 2 years, you're talking a 16-year-old, 17-year-old committing to a college, and that coach might not be there. I guess women's soccer is a little bit better than men's soccer, or football. We'll call it soccer because when you get into the college, football coaches change all the time. Excuse me. But college here in the United States, I feel like the soccer programs are a little bit more safe because the eye's not watching them all the time, so to speak, compared to the other sports. So you might get lucky and have the coach there. But like you said, like, they get into the program and they get into the portal because they don't like the program.
But again, it's a bit, for me, it's a bit too open with regards to, and again, from a coach's point of view, that play and dictate isn't right. It doesn't sit right with me, because obviously, if you previously and you want that player, then just because they have, like, realistically, again, going back to what we touched on before, it's a well-known fact, unless you're in that starting 11, if you're in the starting 11, everyone loves the coach. If you're not in the starting 11, people coach. If you have everyone, if they're not getting a game and not playing, who are going to jump in the portal and move, and realistically, that's if you're not playing. And yourself as a player, when I was growing up, I was always brought up that if you're not playing or you're not getting a game, work harder, try harder, show your coach that I deserve an opportunity. When you get your opportunity, keep your place in the team, because for me, that's football. That's realistically that's what football is.
Right. So, no, you're good.
If you're not in the team, there's a reason you're in the team. So you're doing something wrong, because if you weren't playing the way you should, then you'd be in the team. And that's one of the things we try and get across, is that nobody's got any God-given right to play. You've got to perform. Where sometimes I think people think that, obviously, again, one of the things with the US, which it's actually one of the things that blows my mind more than anything, is that when we come to tournaments and when we play, and we've been previously, that a roster of 22 players, and the coach makes like 7 subs after 10 minutes, and I'm like, I'll never happy if you've got substitutes. But players are coming on and off, like you're completely changing your team. If you're taking 7 players off, putting 7 new players on, for me, it's crazy. I don't know how coaches do it or how they know what. But I know why they do it, obviously, because it's people are paying vast amounts of money to play and they want to give players game time. But it's just different here with the way that we do things.
I think the game's modified more than it needs to be. I think if you go back, before COVID, what was it, 3 subs for the whole match at the professional level, and they have here in the United States. I know that like the MLS, they can have I think 3 or 4 subs, maybe 5 subs per half, and that's it. But the player. Then at college, that they get subbed off, sometimes they can't, like even at the collegiate level, if they get subbed off, they can't come back on. There's all these different rules depending on when they get subbed and when they get subbed off. And I am to the mentality now with watching soccer, and I know I'm going to make a lot of my family friends mad at me, but these kids need to be playing the whole time. I know that we pay a lot of money and these coaches carry these rosters, but being someone that's not a soccer background, I'm very analytical about it. Coaches do carry rosters of 22, and they can only on game day have a roster of 18 kids on roster.
Yeah.
And as they move up, and depending on the league, some of them only allow 5 player substitutions in 3 windows, and per half. So they can change up if they sub 5 players on in the first half, they can stay on, or they can put 11 new players on the field if they want, and then sub whoever they want. But at the same time, it's just really prepping them for where they want to be in life. And like you talked about, playing time is earned. I think we as parents sometimes have to be critical, but not mean. And then we laughed the rest of the time in the car for the next 10 minutes driving him to his next practice.
Yeah.
And I don't think we talked about the parent hat coming off and coaching hat coming on earlier. I don't ever get on him about his style of play. Only thing I get on him is his work ethic, because that's the only thing I can teach him is how hard you work. I don't know how it is over there, but as a parent here in the States.
Oh, I agree. Listen, the mentality for us on our program is that work rate, desire, and attitude. It's not an ask. It's a given. Without that, you could be the most talented footballer in the world. But if your attitude stinks or it's not what it needs to be, you will fail. You look at all your great players. It's very rare that they've got the talent, but they haven't got the. You look at your Ronaldos, your Messis. People forget. People look and see how great they are and what they've done and goals and what they've won and so on. But when you peel it all back, and you look at someone who's turned up every day for the last 3 years to training on time, consistently looked after the body with what they eat, what they drink, how they prepare, how they recover. They've dedicated their lives. It's not just a case of you turn up and you're great. You don't do that for 20 years. And I think that it always goes back to that. It always goes back to the mentality of the player. We all know, I'm sure you've seen it yourself, even at your level. There's so many people who are super talented, but their attitude lets them down. And we all know them. We've all played with them. We've all seen them. But it's like, You've got to be the whole package. Without something like your attitude, if mentally you're not ready, or you don't do things correctly, straight away, I know from our point of view, a coach will use that as a negative, i.e. this player could affect my team, this player could lose me games, this player could lose us, this player could lose us in tournaments. When we're selecting squads to go all around the world, to play in tournaments around the world, we're not just selecting the best players, we're also selecting the people that we know. Number one, we can trust, that won't let us down on the pitch, won't let us down off the pitch, do the right things, have the right mentality. Because at the end of the day, the mentality is everything. It dictates where you will end up. And I know there's a famous saying, obviously, talent will only, for me, without the mentality and desire to become better and do better things, then you're never going to get to the level that you want to be. And I'm a big believer. We say over here that when someone dedicates themselves to what their craft and what they want to do, is that they will always get to their level. And their level may be Premier League, their level may be Championship, their level may be semi-professional, they may be just going on a scholarship to the US. but they will reach their full potential. As long as you dedicate yourself and you do things correctly, you should always, it's very rare you won't get to the level that you were meant to get to. And I'm a firm believer in that, is that if you do things right, you will always get to your level. And unfortunately for some people, it's not the level that they want to be at. But I think one of the big things that when you look back, and I did in my career, is that you look back and go, you know what, give it everything I had as a player with regards to when I was 16-year-old started to go out of a Friday, Saturday night party and I was in bed at 10 o'clock in the night because I had the game the day after, is that I give everything to my career. And then got to the point where when it finished, it was like, I have no regrets because I knew I literally squeezed every ounce of what I had. Today, it's no different. But I think the problem with today is I think sometimes people actually think that it's there given, that it should be. They don't have to put the work in where it's not. You've got to do even more today because there's more people playing the game. There's more, obviously, people want to succeed and get to a certain level. And again, as you said before, with the US as well now, there's more opportunities. There's so many leagues, there's so many levels. Your ECNL, your MLS Net, obviously your YSL, all them levels. That there are opportunities there. Sometimes people aren't actually willing to sacrifice and do what they need to do to get to where they should be. And for me, that's the big difference between a really top player and someone who could have been a top player but isn't, is that it's that dedication, it's that mentality of what they want to do. And again, I'll be quite frank, is that one thing I love about US soccer and the events and the showcases that I've been to is the mentality of the US players that I see is brilliant because you see them, they're physically, they're fit, the specimens with regard to the go in the gym at the age of 13, 14. It's probably one thing we lax here in the UK is that if you're at a pro club, you do that instinctively. But if you're 14, 15, 16-year-old player here in the UK and you're not at a pro club, a lot of players aren't going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. They think, oh, I'm not going to get that opportunity. Where in the US, even if they're not at a pro club, players are going to the gym, players are working out daily. And I think that's the one thing that I love about the US more than anything is the players with regards to the desire to succeed, which stands out in abundance for me from what I've seen over the last couple of years.
I think that's one thing that we have an advantage of. All of our schools have these, at least here in Texas, I can speak to them. They have these beautiful gyms. If you come here to the Dallas Metroplex or anywhere in Texas, east of Maryville is so taken so serious. We have state-of-the-art gyms, state-of-the-art training facilities because of high school sports. We have high school stadiums here that rival some professional stadiums here in the United States. Sports are a big deal and they have access to the weight rooms. They have access. And that's the one thing I think that does set the United States apart is that the access to some of this stuff, that it's free through the schools, not just as a sport the parents have to pay for. It's part of their education system.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I think kids today have much more distractions. I was talking to my son the other day. This kid I was just scrolling through my Instagram, and everything from my Instagram for my podcast is all soccer. There's nothing else that comes across it. And this kid was ranked in the nation for tennis and decided to quit tennis and go play football. And watching him juggle the ball and watching him have this drive, and his coach posted it. It was his coach posting, talking about him, like, he's no longer my tennis player, but watching him kick a ball around, and he's going somewhere. And he could juggle the ball, move the ball, and had the foot skills already down and only touched the soccer ball for a year and a half. And I turned to my son and I shared it with him. I go, what do you think this kid has that most kids don't have? And I go, he has a drive. And I go, that drive will take him places, either on the court, the pitch, whatever it may be, or in the office. He will be successful because he has an internal drive to be the best and that drive to want to be more. You talked about you had younger kids, and it's like, how do you motivate these kids and how do you keep them excited with all the distractions today? And it's hard.
It is, and I think a lot of it comes from parenting is everything. So again, going back to the US, the days and years that you guys as parents of US players put into obviously taking them to these events, traveling across country, so on. It's amazing. People never do that. you really wouldn't do it, especially not from their own pocket as well, which is the thing that obviously is amazing with what parents in the US do. And which obviously it's not that they love parents in England love the children less or want less opportunities. It's just the fact that it's just a completely different emphasis on what our youth football is compared to your youth football. And again, it's a lot of it is, as you said, goes from the desire of sometimes as well. Players have a major desire, but it's also the desire of the parents to actually push the children, but push them in the right way, not push them where it's a negative. Where we all know the stories of parents getting the kids in cars after the game and annihilating them on the performance and everything being negative and so on and so forth. And I've done it myself as a dad, where I have to bite my tongue because you want to say something because you know what they've been doing right or wrong. But I just let their coach deal with it because, number one, if it was me as a coach, I wouldn't want a parent to, because the only bit of information I wanted to listen to is mine. But it's tough. But I think also it's just a game, it's just the way the game is. And obviously it's what makes the game great, is that there's so many opinions and obviously so many opportunities, but also it's the fact that obviously everyone thinks they're right. No one ever thinks they're wrong, do they? Which is unfortunately being involved in the industry and being involved obviously at a club. It's like you sometimes you just want to say to people, listen, just let me know what we're doing. I think that's also sometimes what a lot of coaches do. They just say, just let the coaches or let the experts obviously deal with what we know best.
I think you're right. I think we as parents tend to think we know what we're talking about. I sit there on the sideline and I'm listening to the coach on the other side yelling to the players to do something. Then I'm listening to the parents on the side, and you're listening to them giving the opposite direction of the coach. And it's like, when will these kids, like, how will these kids learn? Because they can't listen. They don't want to make their parents mad, and they disappoint their coach, and they're left spot. And I don't think it ends until the parents mature and learn that you hire a coach for a reason, and these coaches volunteer for a reason because they have the knowledge. I'm going back to your side of the world, the grassroots side, that they have the knowledge. We don't have we have parent volunteers like myself when my son was 5 or 4 that knew nothing about the game, and here I'm reading, okay, I'm watching my friend's son play, and he's a U16, and watching them play, this is the next phase. And then you get to go watch a professional match, a semi-pro match, where it's 18, 19-year-olds playing, and you're wondering what is going on and trying to figure it all out and understand it all. And then you don't know what's next, and you don't know what's going on, and you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And watching the series, I feel like we're behind in the beautiful game, partly because we have options and so many choices, but at the same time, we don't have the culture. And as parents, I think that's huge. When we talked about it earlier, it's being able to have a pint or a meal after a match with your team, with your family. Yeah. We don't do that. And I think when teams start doing that and having that camaraderie, you'll have teams that stick together. You talked about playing all the way up. I've talked to coaches where they've coached the same core players from the time they've been 5-6 years old, and now they're going off to college and had the opportunity to coach them through those age range. And it's because they have the culture, the camaraderie built into the team, and it's something that was built in, and they do it within the club and things like that. So yeah, we've been all over the place, and I've been ADHD bouncing all over here, and I'm sorry. What do you find to be or will be the biggest strength for you all? I'm going to go back to Everton. Like, for you all, what do you think is going to be the biggest strength for you when you guys are recruiting and looking at our program that we have here in the States? If you do recruit from the United States, what do you think parents need to understand that these players need to be doing?
I think for me, it's just, again, it's certain players that we look to recruit are obviously of a certain level. With regards to, and again, it doesn't have to be people that are going to come in straight away and be professionals. It's not that way. It's just looking at players who are doing, for us, it's doing the basics. So what I look for when I go to look at players is that you do the basics right with regards to how good is the first touch. Yeah. What are they like with regards to the position on a pitch? Yeah. And again, it sounds very simple, but it's, if they have 100 passes in a game, are they getting 95 of them complete? Where if you have 100 passes in a game and you complete 50, 60 passes, you're misplacing a lot of passes. It's simple things like that. It's people who do things well consistently. Doesn't have to. Don't be wrong. There'll be amazing players who stand out and you go, wow, they're exceptional. But you're good to exceptional footballers. That in between that bracket are just people who consistently do things well and perform well. Whether it's 7, 8 out of 10 every week type player, that's what you look for. And obviously, having the basics down with regards to it, again, first touch is everything. The higher you go in football, whether the difference between a Premier League football or a Champions League footballer compared to a Division 2 footballer, it's all with the first touch. It's all with the thinking and what they're thinking ahead of what's next. It's not a case of they do the touch and then they don't know. They're looking for what they're going to do next. Good footballers are always thinking ahead with what they're doing and where they're going with what the passes or what the run's going to be or where they're going to shoot. So it's just things that you look for that you can see that people are slightly different with certain aspects of their game compared to people who maybe haven't got them attributes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's critical. I don't know where to go I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. The attributes of a player and things along that line. I think it's critical. I think players need to know where they stand and how they're viewed, and parents need to understand that side of it. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. And I'm going to ask you my favorite question here. Actually, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Yeah. If there's any message you want to share with my audience that would be helpful for them for their future, for their players or parent perspective, what would that be?
Man, what I say to our players is, listen, give your career or whatever level you play at or whatever level you're going to play at or however long you're going to play the game, whether it's training, whether it's prep, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's match day, give everything you've got. Don't have any regrets with regards to half-hearting things or turning up to sessions and maybe giving 80% in the session because you're a very short time that you play the game at a decent level or you can play. So obviously from the age of probably 12, maybe your mid-30s, so to speak, 15 to your mid-30s, it's a 20-year window. And obviously when you stop playing, you realise that it's very quick. The one thing that I would say to anyone is give it everything you've got every day, every session, every workout, every game. Don't ever walk off a pitch thinking you could have done more or you could have worked harder or you didn't give it everything you've got. For me, that, and again, as a coach, a coach will spot that in a person. Players may not think that we do, but we do. You can see someone who gives you everything every time they go over the white line compared to someone who maybe doesn't. There's certain things that you, as a coach, and you realise and you notice that can either be a real strength of a player or you look at it as a flaw where they're not giving everything they've got, which for me would give a negative because obviously my thought process would then be that this player's got a little bit of a chink in their armour with regards to they're not giving it everything they've got. Why aren't they doing that? When as a coach or as someone who looks and watches players is that you should be giving it everything you've got every second that you're on a pitch. There's no shortcut, so to speak, in the player that you want to become. I say it a lot to our players. I have a bit of a running joke with them when they come to pre-season. I say it's hard. It's hard being good. Yeah, it's easy to be poor or easy to be able to just turn up and play. But to actually be good at something, it's difficult because you've got to dedicate yourself to it. You've got to do it every day. You've got to do it consistently. And for me, that would be a message that I'd say to any young player is that.
Okay, who has been the greatest influence on you as a player and a coach? And I guess if you want to include education. So whenever you're ready, answer, just remember to unmute yourself.
Probably say the greatest influence for me, I think probably, hopefully most people would be my dad. He's probably, I learned everything from as a young boy and the one who was at the side of the pitch shouting at me and telling me what I was doing wrong and what I need to do right and stuff like that. Dad played well. He had reasons he didn't. Always listened to me dad. It probably wasn't what told me and stuff like that, but it's probably its way that the information was given me. When I look back at it now as an adult and someone who had a semi career, you actually look at it and go, my dad at Everton, just the stuff that you learn just by talking to your parents. He's probably been the biggest influence on me from a career point of view, from a football point of view. I think actually from a coaching point of view, I'd probably say it was probably my youth team coach, Paul Stancliffe, who was an ex-player, really good career. Stan was at Sheffield United as a 16-year-old with players that I worked with regards to obviously just standards, expectation, what you need to do as a young player, and what's expected of the desire that you should want to be the best, not stay in training, and then even like things that you do off the pitch, just the way that you conduct yourself and your manners and stuff like that. I learned a lot in days from the age of probably 16 before I obviously made my first team. When they're really grounded yet, that obviously I've took with me throughout the rest of any, so to speak. So probably and Paul Stancliffe, they've been the biggest influences. And then with coaches that you learn from when you become a coach as well, not just a player, coaching licensed pro licensed coaches who work the English FA, the Welsh FA, and seeing a lot of international. And still to this day, I see coaches that I work with and I see some of the stuff that they do and you're taken aback with it. It's amazing what coaches are like nowadays compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago. And also, I think a lot of the international coaches that over the years, especially when we go on tours and trips, even in the US, that I've seen over the last probably 5-10 years, coach to the game and the way that obviously they coach. And you should, until the day you step away from the game, everyone should be learning.
Is there anything you'd like to share with families or parents that we might have missed or that you've thought about recently? Families or parents that we might have missed or... I'll start over, and I'm so sorry. Is there anything that we've missed or you'd like to share with families that we might have missed in our conversation?
No, I think say from family point of view, obviously from a parent point of view, just let them enjoy. I think that's the main thing for me, is that let them enjoy playing the game. They'll learn as they play. Don't take it seriously all the time, read all the time, because at the end of the day, it is a game. It is enjoyable play, and again, even players reach the level that they're supposed to, as long as they're dedicated and speak the player that they should be. I'm a big believer in that. As long as they're dedicated and they want to learn and they're willing to sacrifice and put themselves out there and play the game, then just enjoy it. It's a very short time period that you, so to speak, and even myself now as a dad, and obviously your dad, and yeah, kids play, but it actually isn't. It's a very short period of time within their lifetime. Obviously, they're in the 20s and 30s and so on. It takes up more of your life than hopefully. But football is a very so enjoy it while it's there. That would be my biggest say.
Man, this is one of those conversations when you really sit back and listen, it hits differently. Because what John laid out across these 2 episodes, it's not complicated, but it's not easy. We talk about structure, we talk about environment, we talk about the difference between US and England, but when you really strip it all down, it keeps coming back to the simple things, consistency and mentality, and doing the simple things right over and over again. And I'll say this as a parent, this one hit home for me, because we all want what's best for our kids. We all think we're helping. We're all investing time, money, and energy. But at some point, you got to ask yourself, are we actually helping them love the game? Or are we putting pressure on something that's supposed to bring them joy? That's probably one of the biggest takeaways for me. Let them enjoy it. Let them grow. Let them struggle a little bit. And understanding that development, real development, it doesn't happen in a month. It doesn't happen in a season. It happens over years. And for all the players listening, this part matters too. There's no shortcuts here. There's no hacks. There's no secret paths. It's showing up every single day, doing the work, giving everything you got when nobody's watching, and being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to go. Because like John said, you'll reach your level. The question is, do you actually give everything to find out what your level is? That is the part you control. So yeah, this one is a good one, a real one. A big thanks for John for coming on, sharing his expertise, and honestly just being open about what this game really looks like at a different level. If you guys have enjoyed this podcast, have enjoyed what I've been trying to do, the messages that I'm putting out there, please give me some ratings, some stars on all the podcast sites that you listen to this on. Give me a review, share this, share with others. The more I can make this grow, the more I can continue doing this. I'm really trying to make a difference in our soccer community. So I hope you guys have enjoyed all this. And until next time, I'll see you at the pitch.